All right, we're going to welcome back to the program our old pal, video game expert Brian Shea is here, formerly of GameInformer. So that I guess that means he's back with GameInformer.
Yeah, once again with GameInformer. It's good to be back, honestly. Like it didn't seem like it was going to happen, and now here we are.
Let's get your beautiful face on the screen and your credentials right there. Instagram and Blue Sky for all the people on the radio at Brian P. Shea. Check out his podcast, All Things Nintendo, wherever you get your finer podcasts. And of course, now back with GameInformer. Brian, I got to tell you, this is a story we don't hear about anymore.
No.
Not even that. You never hear of a company downsizing and going under, well, essentially going under, selling off whatever you're doing, mass layoffs. And then a few months later, somebody goes, yeah, you know what? I think this was a mistake. We got a different backer. We have different finances. Let's just start it all back up and bring 100% of the people back.
Yeah, well, it all started back like fall of last year. You know, we were closed down in August, and this company reached out to our former parent company and started discussions with us as well. And once they gauged that we would be interested in coming back and doing what we were doing, they proceeded with negotiations with our former parent company. And now, here we are, completely new ownership and 100% of the staff back, as you had referenced. And, things are going great so far.
Are you in that new model now where your company's back? They don't have a set building for everybody. You're all working from home? Because a lot of companies did that now. Yeah, everybody's remote, so you don't have the overhead of having a brick and mortar place where everybody's got to go there, set up offices.
Rick and Morty?
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the way that we went about it is, maybe we'll get a studio space down the road, but for now, it's just
most companies, remote. If they need to have an all hands on deck kind of meeting or something like that, they rent conference space. They have those workplaces that you could do it, or they go and get conference spaces or ballrooms at a hotel for like a day or two, and everybody goes there, has their meetings, and then you go back to working from home again.
Well, it's not even that. Like, we used to require people to relocate to Minnesota back when we had the physical space, and then that closed during COVID. And it was like, all right, well, now everybody's just remote. We can hire people remotely. So we've hired people in Illinois, Florida, I think Ohio. We have somebody, and then our parent company is European, so it's like. It would be difficult for us to have kind of an all hands meeting in person anyway.
It definitely widens the talent pool.
It does.
Without the requirement of physically moving to Minnesota or moving to the United States to work here. Now it's just everybody can work from wherever, and you get better people and a wider range of talent coming in, and it's much more convenient. So that's great. Who's the new parent company now?
It's a video game studio called Gunzilla Games, and it's actually co-founded by Neil Blomkamp, the movie director.
Oh, wow, okay.
So District 9 director, obviously several
all
other
the Halo commercials that they did for like Halo 3 and all that stuff. Like, he was supposed to be the guy for that.
So he's the co-founder of the studio, and then underneath Gunzilla Games, they founded a subsidiary called GameInformer Inc., which is our own independent company. And it's been great because they've one of the core tenets that they wanted to bring into this is maintaining our editorial independence. So the fact that we were able to do that was a huge thing for us. We didn't really have much interest in joining a video game studio as like a marketing wing of their company. We both agreed, both ownership company, ownership group, and the staff that came back, that without editorial independence, we wouldn't really be GameInformer. And I'm really grateful that they also saw that, because that is arguably the most important part of what GameInformer did.
Is this going to be strictly digital, or are you guys going to go into print media again?
So we're kind of like rolling it out in phases. Right now, it's just getting focused on getting our website back up and running, getting the YouTube channel active again. We're going to slowly start streaming again on Twitch and probably YouTube as well. And then hopefully by middle of this year, we will have the print magazine back.
Let's move on to the big story while you're here. Nintendo had their big press conference release debut of Switch 2, which we knew was coming. Now we know. Tell us what they're offering, all the information that you got for being there at the presentation.
Yeah, so I went out to New York last week and basically got to watch in a giant group the Nintendo Direct. And then after that, they kind of shepherded us into this other part of the area, that the venue they'd rented out, and got to do a lot of hands-on stuff. So I got to play a lot of the games that they showed, not every single one of them, but a lot of the big ones were present. So that was really cool. But yeah, basically, the elevator pitch really is, it's just a bigger, more powerful Switch. But there are other features, like there's a whole social hub where you can invite somebody and chat over the camera if you want to. There's a microphone built into the Switch that is designed to isolate your voice. So they even showed an example of if your roommate is in the next room blending a smoothie, it will deafen that sound and still you'll be able to hear your voice. The person you're chatting with will hear your voice over that.
No. I know the baby's crying, but focus on the game at hand here. That's more important.
Right. And you can also stream your gameplay to them as well. And so they gave an example, somebody's stuck in trying to find a shrine in Tears of the Kingdom. You can stream your gameplay to your friend and they can give you tips of how to find it. And there's also a lot of stuff that they can do with that camera. I played Super Mario Party Jamboree. They're doing an updated Nintendo Switch 2 version of that. And it's a game show that Bowser is hosting. And he brings you out and everybody on the screen is superimposed into the game. So it was 4 of us standing side by side. There's one camera and it isolated each one of us. So it was in the crowd while Bowser's announcing, hey, welcome to the show. And here we're going to have some participants come up and play some games. It shows in the crowd. It's Goombas and Koopa Troopas and Shy Guys. And then it's just me standing in the middle of all of them.
Does it look like when Major League Baseball was selling the opportunity to have your cardboard cut out of your photo in the background during COVID?
Kind of, only, instead of being surrounded by other people who have their cardboard cutouts, it's a bunch of Goombas.
Now it looks
Eric in New York.
Yeah, that or it looks like when WWE used to still have to do wrestling matches and they had everybody on the video screens behind them there. That's fun.
So that, and then they obviously, you're the people who get called up, and they have different games you have to play that utilize the camera. One is it would tell they put it puts a Mario or a Luigi hat on you, and it says everybody, the talking flower from Mario Wonder basically plays Simon Says with you, and the camera recognizes if you listen, and it tries to trip you up. And then there's another one where you basically just hold the Joy-Con up and there's a question block above you on the screen. You just have to hit as many coins out of it as you can in the given time. And then just stuff like that. And then there's also the mouse functionality, so you can take the Joy-Cons and turn them sideways and put it on a surface, and you can suddenly use it like a computer mouse, and you can do it with 2 of them. So there's one game called Dragon Drive where it's wheelchair basketball, and you're taking the mouse controllers and you're moving you're rolling a wheelchair. And you can do it on either the table or your pants. If you'd prefer to do it down, if you don't have a table, I don't. If you're watching the video version, you can see my gaming area behind me. I don't have a table in my gaming area right now, so I could actually do the mouse controls on my legs, and it would work just fine. I tried that out, and it didn't really have any discrepancy. And you can do all kinds of stuff. And the magic of the mouse controller is that it's seamless. So you don't have to go to a menu and select, I want to do mouse controls. So in Dragon Drive, you're rolling your wheels using the mouse controllers, and then you just lift your arm up to grab the ball and shoot it with flicking your wrist. And you don't have to do any kind of weird button press or anything to transition to motion controls. It just knows that you picked up your controller and you do the shooting motion. The same thing is true when I was playing Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I was doing the standard controls where you have the 2 Joy-Cons, and if you hold the left trigger, it actually does a lock on the enemy, and then you can use the right to have motion controls to have more precise aiming, or you can just take the right controller and just put it down on the table at any time, and it suddenly controls like a mouse. So there's no need to go in and do any kind of menu swapping, oh, I want to do mouse controls now. It's no, if you just suddenly feel like you want to do a mouse, you can. which is really cool. And then
So and these are just the controllers that come with it in the bundle?
Yeah, the Joy-Con 2s.
Okay.
And then like obviously it opens up a whole world of possibility for like Civilization 7 is on Switch 1, but you have to use like kind of clunky gamepad controls. You can't do the mouse control on that. I played it with the mouse controls for Switch 2, and it really does feel like you're playing the PC version. I mean, it's a downgraded version because it's not as powerful as like a really good gaming PC. But you use the mouse control. You can do it in the gamepad controls if you want, or you can turn one of them sideways, and then like the left is basically the WASD, and the right is your mouse, and you can just basically play it as though you were playing the PC version of Civ 7, which is really cool. And I think that opens up a lot of possibilities for games that they could bring to this system that they haven't been able to bring to other consoles. Because like, City Skylines is a game that I love playing. And there is an Xbox One version. There's a PS4 version. There's a Nintendo Switch version. But that's never the way I want to play that game because I don't want to use a controller for it, right? I want to use a mouse and keyboard because it's a simulation city building game. So the ability to have a mouse and essentially a keyboard light in your left hand, that is going to open up so many possibilities for bringing good versions of these PC exclusive games.
Well, even then, do you feel like this mouse control setup was probably why they kept pushing Metroid Prime so far? And because, this was years and years in making. And I feel like if this is how this is going to go, I feel like this control setup would lend well to a first-person shooter like that. And it just feels like, we'll put it on the Switch, like some of the Zelda games did, but the Switch 2 version really is the one you want to get.
I mean, I think that is going to be the one that you want to get, but I think it was just like it took this long to develop because they had, they announced it in summer of 2017.
Right.
So it's been 8 years.
I just had my pre-order canceled by Amazon like 6 months ago. Like I had it pre-ordered and I let it sit for like $50 and they went in and just cleared them all out.
Well, I think that Amazon's actually stopped selling first-party Nintendo stuff as well. Like they had a dispute with Nintendo. But I also think that because they had to restart development like a year and a half after they announced it in 2017, Nintendo wasn't satisfied with the work. I think it was Bandai Namco was doing on Metroid Prime 4, and they took it away from them, and then they restarted development entirely under Retro Studios, which is the developer of the original games, also the developer of the newer Donkey Kong Country games. So I think that's a major part of it because like we knew about that game like a year and a half before actual development started on it. If you think about it, I mean, obviously they were working on it, but they scrapped all of that stuff.
The Amazon thing, I wasn't aware of that they had some kind of fallout with Nintendo. Isn't that going to be a big chunk of business that they're going to lose by not doing that? Because most people get all their shit from Amazon nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but also like, there's also Target, Walmart, you name it, like everybody's going to have this. Nintendo's also doing a thing where you can buy it directly from them. And it's also entirely possible that if there is, in fact, let me see if I can buy a Nintendo Switch on Amazon.
You can. I just think it's all third-party sellers.
Yeah, because I can see a Nintendo Switch OLED with white Joy-Cons. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this, it says visit the Nintendo store. So there is a Nintendo store. I don't know, but like Nintendo Switch Online subscription is unavailable currently. Like there's a lot of stuff on here, but is much of it even available? I don't know. Like
it's placeholder.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you another question then, because you were talking about how it's a more powerful version of the Switch. Why did they downgrade the screen resolution then?
Well, I mean, the screen itself is better than everything except for the OLED. But we asked them that actually because they had the director, producer, and I think technical director of the Switch 2 at this event in New York. And that was one of the questions is why didn't you go with an OLED and you went with an LCD? And they were like, well, you have to keep in mind that like the LCD that we're using for the Switch 2 is not the same grade of LCD that we had in 2017. Like there's 8+ years of advancements that have been leveraged. And, they've made it so that in handheld mode, it displays 1080p, which the Switch 1 displays 720p, and it can reach up to 120 frames per second in handheld mode. Not only that, but it also has HDR, which it really does make a difference. It makes those visuals pop, especially like playing a game like Mario Kart in handheld mode. The graphics are so vibrant. The colors are so vibrant in a Mario Kart game. You can tell that it looks better than even the OLED model of Switch 1. And then, you get over to docked mode when it's up on the TV, and you can do up to 120 frames per second at 1080p or 4K at 60 frames per second. And that's what I played Metroid Prime 4 was the 1080p at 120 frames per second. It was so smooth. Like, it was impressive how good that looked. And then they also have retrofitted a bunch of Switch 1 games for Switch 2. So I mentioned Super Mario Party Jamboree has mouse and camera mini games that are a lot of fun. They're also adding like an entirely new story DLC for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and also performance upgrades there. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are getting resolution and frame rate updates. So like,
I was watching some of the footage of that, and as much as I wanted to kind of like be poo-pooing on the idea of having to pay for that, the fact that like some of the details when you're like coming into the world and the grass, and it really is kind of a big jump for a game that I must have sunk days into, time wise. So it will be something I upgrade to because I'm a huge.
Does
Zelda
your game
fan,
progress transfer over with that or no?
I think they said that it will. I didn't confirm that 100% myself, but I'm pretty sure that I saw some headlines that said that because now Nintendo uses cloud saves for a lot of their games. And I even saw a headline that's like, you're not going to lose your Animal Crossing Island when you go to Switch 2.
Damn it, I was hoping people would, because I would be laughing then. But go ahead.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can transfer your files forward.
I did see there were a lot of complaints online after this Nintendo reveal, but one of the big ones was the downgrading as to what people thought of as far as the screen goes. But as you're telling me, all these years it's caught up in a lot of things. A lot of these gamers got it in this head now. It's like, who's still using 1080p at this day and age? It's like, yeah, everybody. Your TV is that way. Movies are still. Not everything is in 4K, and even if it is in 4K, it doesn't look that much better than some of the 1080 stuff right now. I mean, I get it in certain things, but everybody thinks if the game's not in 4K, then it's garbage. It's not worth their time or the price tag. And it's like, how do you enjoy games anymore? Why does it always have to be such the top echelon of technology, or else you can't play the game anymore?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm of the mind that I will take frame rate over resolution any 100%. Day of the week. Like, if they give you like a performance mode or a graphics mode, I will do performance mode every single time, especially if it's like a faster paced game or like an open world game. Like, running through an open world in 4K or 4K looks great, but like running through it in like 60 frames per second or even higher looks even better.
Yeah, where you're jumping to go backwards into it, because like, you go that faster frame rate and then you dumb it down. You're like, now I can't see the difference really, and now it feels slow. Like, it's just slower. It's weird.
And it looks fantastic in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, and I acknowledge that Tears of the Kingdom is also an incredible game. Just seeing that in the higher resolution and the improved frame rate, it really does feel like they've brought that game into 2025.
Well, so the load times were like 16 seconds versus like 25 to 30 seconds of just getting into the next areas and stuff like that. So like you could see that the hardware is pushing it to load these things much faster. So it's again, I don't want to like shit on it, but like it does make a difference, and it's kind of nice.
So it's just a matter of people just seeing specs on paper, not understanding what the advancements are for what it is, and just complaining because it's not exactly this one thing that they think it's like, oh, this is terrible. Why am I even going to bother with this?
Yeah, and I mean, Nintendo's never really been like the at the forefront of performance.
No.
Like, they had the Wii was less powerful than the Xbox 360 and the PS3. The Wii U was less powerful than the PS4 and the Xbox One, and so on and so forth with the Switch. They've always been kind of like, hey, we have a creative way to play games. And it just turned out that the Switch was such a huge hit, they wanted to do another version of that. And I mean, the Wii U is kind of the half step towards the Switch, where it's like, okay, you can play a game in like a handheld thing on a console, but you can't take it anywhere. It's just like tethered to your system, basically. But that was kind of a necessary half step to get to the place that the Switch took us. And then the Switch is their highest selling home console of all time. So it, why wouldn't they want to follow that up and make it just like, hey, we've really figured this out now? And the Joy-Cons connect in a different way. They're magnetic now instead of like that rail system that you have in the original Switch. And from my experience, the rail system kind of gave out after several years. Like
not only gave out, kids don't know what to pay attention to slide it in on a track. So when they go to yank the thing out and you break the plastic that's out there, it's screwed.
Yeah, so this one is magnetic and you have to push a button to have it release it. And I held one and I was like shaking it, like not violently, but I was like just kind of shaking it, and it didn't fall off or like.
He's been testing the magnets for 10 minutes now. He's just swinging it in every direction.
Now, so you had the hands on. As far as the Joy-Cons go, like they got the magnetic grip, you got all this functionality with the joysticks. The biggest issue with the joysticks originally was drifting. The drift effect. They're not using the Hall, controller type with the Joy-Cons and the joysticks. How does this feel? I mean, obviously you won't know until we put hours and hours and hours into these things, but does it feel sturdier? Does it feel like they're going to eliminate that issue with the drift effect?
It's hard to say. Like you said, it's going to take, my Joy-Cons didn't drift on my launch model until just last year. So like I made it 7 or so years before my Joy-Cons really started drifting. So, we asked them and they said like, they kind of didn't acknowledge the Joy-Con drift, because we were like, hey, like a lot of people had problems with this Joy-Con drift at this press conference that we were able to attend and ask questions one by one. It's like, did you guys address this? And they kind of talked around it saying like, oh, we are aware of customer feedback from the Switch 1, and we took that into account as we rebuilt the Joy-Cons from the ground up.
Well, there was a lawsuit. I mean, maybe that's probably why they didn't want to address it too much. I mean, there were people suing Nintendo for this issue where they had to issue recalls and they allowed people to. I mean, I think I replaced a set of Joy-Cons at some point, but I've bought, so many of the, special edition stuff that I don't think I've ever put enough time into each version of Joy-Con that I've stuck on here. But I mean, it feels weird that you're right. Everything always feels like a half step. I feel like the technology is there to do a better joystick with the Hall effect. It just makes sense that they would have done it and they just didn't. And it just kind of feels weird.
I will say that they did make a lot of improvements to the Joy-Cons this time around. In particular, like, I don't know if you ever played a game with the Joy-Con turned sideways, like an old school controller.
Like my hands were too big.
Yeah.
My exact problem, and also those top 2 shoulder buttons, like the SL and SR, they were impossible to touch. Yeah. So
very tiny.
If you went to go play with those, like you have to like really like curl your finger to touch it. They made it so that those are bigger and easier to use. And also the Joy-Con itself is bigger, so it's a lot more comfortable if you play that way.
Now, are they textured differently on that top? Because you're saying you could use that as a mouse function. I could see that being something where it rubs the paint away, or the paint, or the material that the Joy-Con's made from. Do you see that happening with this over time?
I asked them about that actually, because I was playing Dragon Drive, where I'm like just rolling my wheelchair, and I'm just like, is this gonna like file this down to a nub basically? And then I looked at it and I was like really touching like the side of it, and it's like almost like this rubber material that's on all the points of contact. And it seems like it's going to be, because I mean, my mouse also has those, right? Like,
right, yeah, it's got the little grippers on the bottom.
So yeah, like I think that is the approach that they took, and their big advantage is going to be that they have the ability to have 2 of those. So that's going to really enable some other like unique game design mechanics that they could pull off by having 2 mice, right? Because like, who on PC has two mice set up? Because like, I mean, yeah, you could just create games that Eric does.
All my horror games,
dual wielding mice. But yeah, like it's going to really open the door. And I think Dragon Drive is like them trying to be like, hey, come up with like interesting ideas for ways that you can use these mouse controllers that you couldn't possibly do on other platforms.
Yeah, I feel like this is this console's version of ARMS, where it's like, this is what you can do. Please do something with it.
Yeah, like there's so many different controller configurations that you can do now. You know, you can have the Pro controller, which, by the way, I got my hands on the new Pro controller as well, and it feels really great. I mean, the original Switch Pro controller was fantastic, but this one, it has the back buttons. If you've ever played on like a Scuff or like an Elite controller,
Steam Deck,
it has the back buttons. Those are underrated in terms of like how valuable they are once you get used to them. Like when I was playing Overwatch all the time, I mapped like jump and reload to those buttons. And
you also forget they're there sometimes.
Yeah. I click them all the time. Yeah, I have to turn them off every now and then. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, for certain games, I definitely deactivate them. But having that there is great, and it also has the C button for like the game chat that I was talking about earlier. But yeah, I mean, everything feels like either an incremental upgrade or a completely revolutionary upgrade. So like, I haven't found, I mean, aside from the price, which I'm sure we'll talk about here, but you know, there's a lot of variables at play with the price, but everything else feels great. I mean, I played Metroid Prime 4, I played Mario Kart World, I played Donkey Kong Bonanza. Let's see what else. Nintendo Switch 2 World Tour, which is ridiculous that they are charging money for that.
I was going to ask you that too, because Jordan was talking about how when they were doing the thing for the Steam Deck, they were going around doing something similar like that it was, you know, you made a reservation and you got in for free. Now they're charging it like it's a museum experience, you know, $10 when they travel on to come in and see that. I don't really think putting a price to come view it, view the new things that they're putting out there right now, on top of, which we'll get into a second, the price issues with everything else going on there, really is a bad look. Like it's almost Apple-esque. Like it's nickel and diming the audience for everything to do with this new Switch.
Yeah, so for people who aren't aware, the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is like a piece of software that's just like kind of a tutorial system for like your Switch 2, but kind of a tech demo, much in the way that like Wii Sports was. But Wii Sports was free and packed in with your Wii. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, I'm sorry, is it's $10 to buy this thing. And I played it and it's fun, but like it has all like the core tenets of a good tech demo for a new system. But all the good tech demos are included with the system. Like Astrobot was spawned out of a tech demo called Astro's Playroom for PS5. Like that was, people liked that so much, and it was free with your PlayStation that they made a sequel that ended up winning Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the Steam Deck did the same thing, where you can go, and the makers of Portal built a Portal simulator, like where you had to learn to be an employee. And that was a free download. Mm-hmm. So then it taught you, this is what your Steam Deck can do. This is
like
what
Aperture Desk Job or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things where when they said, yeah, you can buy this later, and I'm like, why would I buy a $10 tech demo?
I mean, my preview, we put headlines on our previews on GameInformer.com, and my preview is a premium instruction manual.
Mm-hmm.
That's really like the only negative thing I have to say about any of the software. Like Donkey Kong Bonanza is super fun. It's basically like, what if Mario Odyssey, but you're Donkey Kong and you can punch through any surface? So like you can like jump up, like all like the walls are destructible, the ground is destructible. You can dig down, you can dig up. There's 4 face buttons. One of them is jump. The other 3 are just punch things and break things.
I mean, I like
pretty much all you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fun. Donkey Kong is extremely expressive. You're going around finding these giant banana gems, and it's basically like Mario Odyssey or Mario 64, where you're just going around in this big area and like basically solving these problems and getting bananas, and that's the entire game from what I can tell. And it's
I'm looking forward to that then, because I loved Mario Odyssey.
Same. It's my favorite 3D Mario game ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if I had to guess, because they haven't specifically named who is developing it, I would bet that some people from the Mario Odyssey team are involved, just based on the vibes of that game and like how it looks and controls and the structure. It is either extremely inspired by Mario Odyssey or created by some of the people who worked on Mario Odyssey. I was
gonna say, because Donkey Kong originally was Rare, right?
No, originally it was Nintendo, and then Rare made Donkey Kong Country.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then, they gave it to Retro Studios, who's doing Metroid Prime 4 now, and now it's like, I think Nintendo is internally developing this one.
Okay. I wonder with the new Donkey Kong game, like they snuck Donkey Kong into Odyssey, that one planet where Paulina showed up. and brought back the original Donkey Kong? What if they just brought that world back into somewhere in
The
Donkey
other
Kong?
perspective.
Yeah, the other perspective of it.
I would
like
be all
New
about
Donk
that.
City.
Yeah.
New Donk City.
Why not? And then
That would be a really cool crossover.
it would be. And they're all in the same universe. It's just bizarre and fun because if you everyone played that other Mario Odyssey game, you brought something like that back and you go, holy shit, that's from the other game. People love that stuff.
Well, and here you go. You're playing that game, and then in the background, you can see Mario doing his version. So, like, you're doing your thing, but in the background, Mario's doing his bit.
On a TV
So
in the
kind of on a
storefront
different
window, you're
side.
watching that. Yeah.
It's like a news article. It's like,
Dude, this makes me want to replay Mario Odyssey.
I know.
I was going to play that myself.
But I will say Metroid Prime 4, while we're talking about like some of the big games that I played while I was there, probably the best looking Nintendo game that's ever existed. It is stunning, incredible graphics. There's an opening cutscene that I was like, this is like in game? Like, this is wild how good it looks. And then like you get in there and it's
to see the rest of the cutscene, you got to pay $10 for the tech demo in order to see the rest of it.
But Mario Kart World, I think, is the one that I am just over the moon excited about. I love Mario Kart, and this is like the most ambitious Mario Kart by far. It it's open world, which is wild to say. So like you do the race course, and then it's like, all right, well now we drive to the next race course, and that's how you get to like the next.
That's
level.
almost like
Forza Horizon.
Yeah, that's
kind of
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And you can do free roam, you can do like Grand Prix. We're going to learn a lot more about that. There is a Nintendo Direct on April 17th that's going to tell us all about Mario Kart World, and the knockout tour mode, I think it's called, is a lot of fun. You start off with all 24 racers, and then it's like all right, you have to be, when you get to this checkpoint, you have to be below 18th or better, and then if you're not, you're knocked out, and if you are, you continue going and you race another course, and then you get the next one's like, oh, you have to be better than 12th to get past this checkpoint. And then you keep going until there's only a few people remaining.
It'd be great if you're in the free roam and you could see other races going on and you could launch something into there and ruin the race for other people and you're not competing in it.
Right. Real quick. So with Mario Kart World, let's talk about price real quick. Mm-hmm. So bundled with the system, when you get it, $500. So it's like $50 for the game for now. Mario Kart World on its own, how do you feel as someone who's been in this business as an $80 price tag off standalone? Is what you're seeing worth that price tag, or are we getting the Nintendo tax on this one?
As of now, I would not say that it's worth the $80 price tag. However, Bill Trinan, who is like a VP of product and player experience or something like that, he did an interview with IGN last week, and they asked him about that, and he was talking about like, oh, we like evaluated it based on like the value we believe it brings, and he's like, I don't want to give away too much, but when we do this next Nintendo Direct on April 17th, you'll see what we're talking about. We're going to go in depth about a lot of the stuff that this game has, and you're going to learn a lot more about why we feel that this is worth that price tag. So I'm going to reserve judgment until then, but like I think it's going to take a lot for me to be like, oh yeah, that's worth $80. And I do also think there is a component of them knowing that they can get away with it. And the reason for that is Mario Kart on almost every system that it has been on has been a top 3 selling game. And on the Switch, it is by far the best selling. It's sold over 60 million units, which is wild because that was a Wii U game that they just remastered and repurposed and then added DLC to. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't even like an all new Mario Kart game on Switch, but it outsold like basically Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and all the Pokemon games combined.
No, I still play it. It's great.
It's fantastic.
If you think about an $80 price tag for out of the box game, and then later on you realize, oh, they're going to add probably DLC. Mm-hmm. You're looking at $100 or $120 game when adding the DLC. I want to know.
But see, that's fine. When you buy a game at a certain price point and then they come out with the DLC, yeah, you should be expected to pay for the add-on, considering how big or how advanced the DLC is to the game that you're playing. But I think $80 sets a dangerous threshold because there's been, for games for Xbox, for PC, for PlayStation, there have been games that have been super expensive, but they've been added on versions of an existing game. Like you could buy the GTA at $60, and then you can get this special edition for $75, and this other edition with all this other shit for $100. Right? People are used to these different tiers of a game now.
Deluxe version.
Setting it where Nintendo never has a sale. They're not a company that sells their games after it hit the million seller mark. Remember, Xbox would lower prices. PlayStation would say, this is the golden collection, platinum collection, that kind of stuff. Nintendo doesn't do any of that stuff.
They used to. They used to have Player's Choice back on like GameCube and Wii.
Yeah, a long time ago. But like I said, they follow a lot of Apple's marketing techniques and stuff, right? So they never have sales for any of this stuff. Maybe it's something with within the a certain reseller like Target or Walmart will have some kind of deal, but it's not Nintendo's deal, right? So if they set that $80 and like, hey, they're willing to buy this thing for $80, we're going to set our other games up for $80, which is not very family cost effective when that's their audience. They're not getting the hardcore gamer audience like the other consoles or PC that do that. These are very beloved franchises, but a lot of this stuff is like to buy for your kids or for the family all to play. Remember Carnival games? I used to love that thing where you'd have your whole family around and you're just playing that for an evening. People aren't probably not going to buy that for $80 for that kind of a game anymore. So I think that's setting a dangerous threshold there for a precipice, if you will, that people will want to spend this amount of money on games when everything else is super expensive right now. That could be shooting themselves in the foot. Like maybe their new thing that you said on the 17th when they explained might justify some of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to carry on to other things, because that's kind of what Nintendo does.
Oh yeah, and I would also be surprised if this doesn't kind of like, kind of break the seal here and have it so that other publishers are going to jump in and start doing $80. Because like we saw that in 2020 when 2K was like, all right, NBA 2K is going to be $70 now. And then everybody else started following suit there.
Right.
There's already rumors that GTA 6 might cost upwards of $100.
Well, yeah, and go back even before the pandemic, probably like 2016 or something, when it started becoming, well, game consoles have to be $500. Xbox and PlayStation have to be $500. That's just how it is. It's like, no, that's not how it is. It was $300 2 years ago. Now the new one's going to be $500, and this is where they condition people like this is just the threshold, and you'll get used to this. And I don't know if people are going to continue getting used to this, because my other concern was the initial price for the Switch was like 400 something, right? Without the game.
I think it was $300.
300. With the game, it was 500. Everybody saw this last week and said, oh, it's probably because they're factoring the tariffs and other stuff that's going on with the world economy right now. That's probably why the price tag's so high. Then a couple days later, we get that notice that they're suspending pre-sales in the United States while they try to figure out how to regulate the tariffs and everything going on. You go, wait, I thought that price was for that. Now it's not. So this price was always going to be that way, whether the economy was good or not. It was going to be that price. Now they're saying, well, we got to readjust it and figure out what we're going to do with these other tariff things going on with Japan and China and all and that stuff. So,
well, yeah, because they manufactured the Switches in Vietnam, and Vietnam has a 46% tariff.
I thought they made them in China. Okay, so they're in Vietnam. They were making this. Well, Vietnam's currently, I think, if you understand what the news is saying, that there might be working on something right now with the United States. So that could be some relief for this. So. But if not, you're going into the summer, and then the holiday sales start in September. The push, at least for that. If all of this is going on, this thing's not going to be the big holiday gift that they think it's going to be with the price tag that they have right now and everything.
Well, from what I understand, because there were a few interviews that came out with Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America. He had said that that price was not factoring in any tariffs that may or may not happen, the 450 and 500 price tag. So, I mean, if the tariffs do stick, you have to assume we are going to be paying more for this thing. But they also said that a lot of the launch window Switches that they plan on selling around the June timeframe when the system comes out are already in warehouses in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's going to balance it out at all. It may,
By not
it may
having to
not.
pay the imports on them.
Yeah, because like they've already imported it.
Yeah, but look what happened at the last few consoles that were released. They said, "Oh, we've got enough," and then COVID happened, or something else happened there, and they all of a sudden, you're seeing like every day is Black Friday. The second like Best Buy puts a pallet out front, they don't even stock the shelves. They just cut the cellophane, and then everybody go nuts for the stuff there, and they're selling at going into the holidays. And I don't see this working out well with that price tag for them, only because Xbox, PlayStation, there are just people who have expendable income and are willing to spend that ridiculous price tag for Madden, just even for Madden, or for like the NBA games, the college football game. The sports community will spend the money for that because that's all they play. You might get some of the other people that come in and that play the Call of Duty stuff. You know, there's certain franchises that people will spend whatever for that. Nintendo is not that company, and that doesn't have those properties. Like, I don't think parents are going to spend if say like what the hell is that one game that?
But here's the thing,
what's
Eric,
the game?
I'm that guy. If they put out a Zelda game, I'm buying it. If they put out a Mario game, there's a good chance I'm buying it. They
right,
have
but
their heavy
families buying that. That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Families are having a tough time right now. They want to buy Mario and stuff for their kids. This might be a problem. Like I don't. It looks good. I think the price tag is might not have been as up a hot point for everybody if the current economic situation wasn't happening. But now it is. You got to factor all that in, and Nintendo doesn't have that kind of pull or that kind of command that people will just spend whatever because it's Nintendo. People buy it for their kids, and if they see those price tags, they're not going to buy that for their kids, I don't think.
I think it's weird about this price tag is that I was kind of expecting around $400. Like I know enough to know that's not going to be the same price as the Switch. It's going to have more power. It's going to be bigger. The price tag is going to be there. What got to me is that when they said it's $450 and then $500 with the game, but then seeing what the Japanese market's getting it for, it's like almost $100 difference, right? So
and they're geo-locked
are they getting
too,
it?
right?
Yeah, you can't buy the Japanese system and play the American games, from what I was reading.
Yeah, I think they may have region locked it again. I'm not entirely sure on that though.
I don't know. It feels like sometimes for every 2 steps they go forward with something, they take like another step back and take away things that, like, I like the idea that they're doing the virtual card thing because I've got kids, we've got multiple systems, I've got like 5 Switches in this house as it is, and it's like to be able to have my digital copy of Mario and let my kid use it. That idea is fantastic. It is a great step forward to digital content, especially since some of these game cards that they're going to be selling for $80 are literally just plastic keys to unlock the digital version of the game, like like an Elden Ring. That is a great step forward. But like then to say there's a premium that you have to pay for this thing and this thing and this thing, it's like, okay, so now what am I getting for the money that I'm paying?
Is Nintendo heading that route? Are they going to be looking out to phase out physical media like a lot of the PC games and stuff do?
I mean, they are charging more for certain physical games. I think Mario Kart is $90 if you buy it physically instead of $80.
Wow. Okay.
But I mean, I think that a lot of people have gone. I mean, I definitely have not bought a physical game in years. And Nintendo Switch was the first one that I guess 3DS was the first one because I don't want to, if I'm traveling, I want to have all my games with me. I don't want to carry around a stack of cases, The
only thing I get any physical media for is any of my Zelda stuff. Like I want the card for that only because like I collect the physical portion of it. That's why it kind of frustrates me that we had the HD version of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the Wii U, 8 years ago. And we can't get even that as a digital purchase on the Switch, a system that could run both of those things. And what they're giving us is the ability to play GameCube versions of these games now, but they're the old versions. We're not even getting the HD version of Wind Waker. And I'm just like, the market's there. We'll buy them.
Right.
Put them out there.
They could very well do what they did with Mario 64, where they have it on the Nintendo Switch Online, and then they put out that Mario 3D All-Stars a couple years later, and it was like, okay, well, if you want this, it's slightly up-resed, and you can map your controls a little bit differently, and there's some other bonuses. And that's the way I recently replayed Mario 64, was in the 3D All-Stars thing. Of course, they delisted that for some reason that nobody knows.
Why I bought the physical copy of it, and which was insanely hard to find after a while.
Yeah, but I could see them being like, okay, well, both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are on Nintendo Switch Online. It's been on there for a year. Let's just put out the HD versions, and people who want to have that can have it. I would not be surprised if they do that somewhere down the line, but yeah, I mean, it is a weird choice. I will say on the GameCube side, it was so good to have the Nintendo GameCube version of Soul Calibur 2.
Oh, with
the one with Link. God, it plays really well still. Like, I got to play a little bit of that at the event. And the graphics on the GameCube games do look really good. They did up-res all the games. And then if that game did have native widescreen support, like Soul Calibur and like F-Zero GX did, you can play it in the widescreen, and it's not stretched at all. Unfortunately, Wind Waker does not have that on the GameCube. There's select games that it's like you can go into the video options and select widescreen or 16:9, and it looks great.
I loved that Soul Calibur. I think I had a PlayStation 2 at the time when that came out, and I had the GameCube. And it's like, I had to make a choice. And of course, when they said that Link was playable, I was like, of course I'm getting the GameCube version of it. And I used to love
because Nintendo's using the cloud stuff for, at least your saved game access, what have you. By not having the physical game, and if you're going to travel, does that prevent you from playing the game? Because, a lot of games have it where you have to be connected to the cloud, or your progress and everything you have is not going to be saved, or you can't access your previous saved inventory and all of those things. So if you're on a plane and if it's all cloud service, then what do you do?
No, that's just the save file. And like you can, I play, like say I'm playing Breath of the Wild on my Switch. It's saved locally to my system, but then it uploads the backup to the cloud. So when I had to swap out my launch model Switch for a new Switch late last year, I just downloaded that file from the cloud, and then it was local on my new Switch.
So with that being said, then does that's going to be available for the new Switch, where you get that stuff, but also like say the stuff you bought from the Nintendo Store online? Will those purchases be able to transfer over?
Yes.
Okay. So any games that I have digitally through the store, when you get the Switch 2, I can play them over there as well.
There are minimal exceptions. Like I asked them, that was actually the question that I got up and asked at the press conference, was like, what are the exceptions here? Because they keep saying like it works with compatible Nintendo Switch games, and they're like Labo, because the new Switch doesn't fit in like the cardboard of the Labo system. So there's that on the first party side, and then they're still testing a lot of the third party games. But so far, it's like, yep, 99% of them start up and they look great, but we're still doing further testing with them.
Okay.
So it looks like it's going to be like 99% of all games, if not more, will work on Switch 2.
All right.
Yeah, that cloud functionality is great, because I've got 2 kids and they beat them up. This is a broken Switch that I had to transfer into a new Switch, and it was seamless. Like, it was just, there it is. There's all your stuff.
Okay.
And it's just like, that is something Nintendo did right.
They finally figured out, accounts. And
yeah,
it is nice in that regard.
Now, with the chat features and stuff like that, now they're starting to kind of open up to being able to, do cameras and chat and talk to people. Is it going to still be stuck to the Nintendo code mentality of trying to protect people and keep them in this little universe? Because I'm able to talk to people on Discord using my PlayStation or, Xbox. I could stream to, Twitch or, YouTube and all this stuff. Is Nintendo still going to keep their little universe locked in with the Nintendo codes?
I'm pretty sure they are, but I did see that they will have another way that you can add friends. And I don't know if it's like connecting social network profiles or something, and it'll just recommend like, oh, you and this person follow each other on Twitter or Instagram or something. Right. or if there's another way that you can find it. But I think friend codes will continue, but then there's also another way that I don't know what that way is, though.
A while back, Switch had that deal with Xbox. Remember, they had a Game Pass kind of trade-off thing. Will there be anything like that going forward with the new Switch? There's been a lot of speculation that people are thinking that Sea of Thieves might be coming to the like a portal available for the Switch, things like that. Are they looking to do any of that stuff or no?
I would be surprised if Sea of Thieves does not come to Switch 2. I think that we're going to get a lot of Switch 2 announcements at Summer Game Fest in June, which it literally happens the week that the Switch 2 comes out is Summer Game Fest. My prediction is that at Summer Game Fest, we are going to see an onslaught of just all these games from other developers coming over to Switch 2. And then later on that month, like late June, we'll get another Nintendo Direct that's going to announce like the rest of like the games that are coming out in like the next 12 months. And that is where I think that we'll get a 3D Mario game.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's just my prediction. That's an educated guess.
I want a new Mario game. I want a new Luigi's Mansion game.
Hey, it's got to be around the corner.
Yeah. Hoping
Did you get your hands on the Bloodborne 2, Dusk Bloods video game?
I did not. That was not present at the event.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a 2026 game, so I think they still have a ways to go with polishing that one.
Yeah, when they were doing the video for that one, I'm sitting there going, this is a Bloodborne game. This is Bloodborne. They're going to do a Bloodborne game. And then it was like Dusk Bloods. I'm like,
Close
and
enough.
it's like From Software. I'm like, come on. But yeah, that looked pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there was any standouts that really like, other than like the up-res stuff and some of that. Like, I just really didn't feel like there was anything that to me stood out other than like Metroid.
I think
they had just released stuff earlier that week for that.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of stuff in June, like between Summer Game Fest and another Nintendo Direct. At least I'm predicting, because they've always done it at like the last week of June to kind of get their summer announcements out of the way, which will set the table for like the fall and holiday season. I think that we're going to get a lot of like big games coming to Switch 2 around the May-June timeframe.
How do you feel about them adding in the little app functionality when it comes to video games? Like, I'm playing Zelda and I bring up their little Nintendo app, and now I can link it to where now I'm getting a map on my phone and stuff like that. Do you see that being something that they'll utilize well, or is that just going to be another gimmicky thing that will go by the wayside?
I think your mileage will vary on those, because Nintendo Switch, I guess it's called Nintendo Switch app or whatever. It used to just be called the Nintendo app, and now it's called the
Nintendo Today.
Well, that's the news one.
Yeah,
I think there's another one called Nintendo Switch app that is, they give the example Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You can say, I want to go here on the map, and it'll give you like the GPS voice, like turn left. And then it's very weird having like this fantasy setting and like a GPS voice guiding you to where to go. But you can also do things like share your Ultra Hand creations with your friends. You can get exclusive items. You can trade items with people. So it's like, I have 1,000 apples. I'll trade you 500 apples for one of those things, and maybe they accept it. It seems like there are some cool things they could do. It's whether or not people actually take advantage of it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I did see the Nintendo alarm clock at my local Target yesterday when I was going around. I'm like, I remember they announced it. I don't remember them saying when it was coming out, and then there it was just sitting there. I'm like, oh. And then I walked by it because I was like, I don't need this. But
it's exactly what I did. I was at the Nintendo store in New York, and I saw the Alarmo, and I was like, oh, interesting. All right.
Neat.
Don't need that.
Yeah, exactly.
What else do we need to know about the Nintendo announcement and what's coming from what you witnessed, got to talk to, ask them all about it?
I'm trying to think if there's anything we didn't cover. I mean, Dragon Drive we talked about. Mario Party, it seems like they're adding a lot of really fun stuff there. We talked about the big three of Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, and Metroid. I mean, we've covered most of the big ones. There was exclusive modes for Street Fighter 6 that are coming. There's one that's like motion controlled, and there's the other one that's I think it's called Calorie Contest or something like that. Oh, and literally you are shaking the Joy-Con, and the more you shake it, the more powerful your attacks are.
Interesting.
And it's just like a weird, like gimmicky mode. I watch people play it and I'm like, what are they doing? And then somebody explained it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just happy Street Fighter 6 is coming to Switch, because I think the last time a mainline Street Fighter game came to a Nintendo console, like timely anyway, was like, I think Street Fighter 2, like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on SNES.
Mm-hmm. I used to play that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're watching the video version, you see it playing in the background of my. It was my favorite
Right.
Street Fighter game for the longest time. I think Ultra Street Fighter 4, and then ultimately Street Fighter 6 overtook it for me.
And then you got a Capcom game back there, right?
Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Love it. I was surprised that they're going to continue with amiibo support. Like, I feel like they lost a lot of retail space, not a lot of amiibos out there, and then they said, "Hey, we're going to put out 4 new Zelda amiibos that I'm going to have to sink $20 per in and
3
get
new
those
Street Fighter
because
ones.
I've got all the other ones, and now they got the Street Fighter. I think I have all the Smash Brothers ones. I sunk a lot of money into those things, and I never use them other than display items. And
Yeah, all of mine are in storage boxes right now, and I have all the Zelda ones as well. So I guess I'll buy these two, even though I don't really have a connection to the Champions and Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, and that because they're going to be the it's another Hyrule Warriors game, which is very divisive for a lot of people, but I love those games, and the fact that this one's going to be canon and it deals with a lot of that, I'm excited about that one because I put in tons of time in the other ones. So.
I'm solely excited for that because of the story. I want to learn more about that era in the past that Zelda transported back to.
Yeah, no, very, very excited for that one. But yeah, that is a very kind of divisive, like, it's a hack and slash. I was like, but that's so good. Like, it's really good for a Nintendo game.
You either love Musu games or you hate them.
I love them.
Or not even hate them. Like, you're just like, ambivalent.
Brian, thank you so much for your time. Look, he always sits here for these long periods just babbling with us as we babble incoherently back at him. He's very generous with his time. He's back with Game Informer. That's very important. Good on them and everybody there that they figured out a way, because that just doesn't happen in today's day and age. Brian, give out all your information. Let everybody know where they can find you and all your wares.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Brian P. Shea, and you can find the All Things Nintendo podcast wherever you are listening to really any podcast. And also on YouTube, my name is also Brian P. Shea, and then, of course, GameInformer.com.
All right. There we go.
It's real fun. You can go to his podcast, start in August, where he's really upset that he lost his job, and then listen to the one prior to the Nintendo 2 stuff where he just got his job back. It's a really weird thing to do.
Pretty bad awesome. Juxtaposition there. Yeah.
Might want to delete that episode so that your current boss doesn't hear that. No, he's fine. He's a good boy. He's too good a boy, and he's too handsome of a young man that he posts his food and his quaff on his Instagram almost on a daily basis. It's kind of nauseating. But anyway, Brian P. Shea, thank you so much, our friend. You've been with us, I think, since the beginning when we started at SiriusXM. And
very first episode.
It's not that we can't get rid of him. He can't get rid of us. We stalk him on a daily basis. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
It's Eric Nagel. Follow the show on all social medias at It's Eric Nagel for ways to watch or listen to the show, both live and on demand. Go to itsericnagel.com.